Welcome back to another episode of Kingdom Heirs, where faith meets business, inspiring the kingdom-minded entrepreneur. Today, I've got David Freymiller with me. We are going to be discussing mergers, acquisitions, monopolies. There's current news that's going on, $25 billion with a B, and the government, FTC, is trying to stop this merger. I want David here and I to talk this out with you, read the news, share what's going on, and see what we can discover together. And let's get started. David, thanks for being here.
Yeah, man, great. It's an honor to be back, James. I love doing this, and thanks for, I'm an expert on my opinion. I'm no expert, but I have opinions, and I know you do too.
We all have opinions.
We really don't have an agenda. We're just going to here to talk about it. We may disagree on stuff, but that's okay. We'll just see what happens.
I hope you don't disagree with me, but if you do, I'm gonna make you pay for it.
You know where I live.
I do. Well, David was with us, I think, on our third episode. David, I think, has something to say about this. He's got market dominance. We talked about we got market dominance in our community with the valet service, right? And so that's one thing. I surely don't have market dominance in my industry here in the community, but we're one of the top dogs for what we do. But I want to share here the recent news. This is with Kroger and Albertsons. Two of the nation's largest grocers agreed to merge in October 2022. The company said that a merger would help them better compete with Walmart, Amazon, Costco, the other two big rivals. Together, Kroger and Albertsons would control 13% of the U.S. grocery market. Walmart controls 22%, according to J.P. Morgan. But the merger, announced at a time of high food price inflation, was bound to get tough regulation scrutiny. U.S. prices for food eaten at home typically rise 2.5% per year, but in 2022 they rose 11%, and in 23 they rose another 5%. That's a total of 16%, according to government data. Inflation is cooling, but very slow. The FTC, which said the proposed deal would be the largest grocer merger in U.S. history, said it would also erase competition for workers, threatening their ability to win higher wages, better benefits, and improved working conditions. Most Albertsons and Kroger employees are members of the United Food and Commercial Workers Union, which represents 835,000 grocery workers in the U.S. and Canada. The union voted last year to oppose the merger, saying the companies hadn't been transparent about the potential impact on workers. Kroger has promised to invest $500 million to lower prices as soon as the deal closes. It said it also invested in price reductions when it merged with Harris Tweeter in 2014, and Rowdy's in 2016. Kroger also promised to invest $1.3 billion in store improvements at Albertsons as part of the deal. The Biden administration has also shown a willingness to challenge big mergers in court. Last year, the Justice Department sued to block a proposed merger between JetBlue Airways and Spirit Airways. A federal judge agreed with the administration and blocked the merger last month. The airlines have appealed. So, guys, that was a lot to read, but that's the news. Again, it's $25 billion merger. I think after they're done, they would be Krogorsons. If they can get it through, they might be Krogorsons. So we'll see what name they go with. But hey, that's a good suggestion for y'all listening from Kroger and Albertsons. You might go with Krogorsons. David, what do you think about this? Mergers and acquisitions happen every day, right? But monopolies, so what's the difference and how do you prevent a monopoly? And are we against monopolies is really kind of the big question. Are we against a monopoly or are we for monopolies?
That's such a tough question. I am fundamentally open market, free market trade type person.
Right.
Like, let the market decide, laissez-faire, let the government keep your hands off, and just let the interest rates adjust to where they will, supply and demand adjust to where it will. There are certain cases, of course, when the government needs to step in, like power plants and things like that need to be regulated.
Right.
But especially for this case, I say let them do it, and because they wouldn't be a monopoly. There's still, Target has groceries. Walmart is huge. You said they're over half the provider.
Yeah.
Is that right?
That's right. Yeah, Walmart has really the dominating market share for the whole country. And if you put these two together, I think they would be half of what Walmart's doing, or a little bit less than half of what Walmart's doing.
Right. And they argue that it'll help them as they get bigger. They have the economy of scale where they can go and purchase supplies a lot lower and actually bring food prices down.
Correct.
And they've committed to help their employees, to put money back into the employee field and raise their salaries. And so
a monopoly means that it's one group controls everything.
Right.
And so this still would not be a monopoly.
Nowhere near a monopoly.
So why the government's trying to stop it, I think is not. I think that's the question. Why is the government trying to stop it? Well, because it's going to form a monopoly, but it won't. It won't, because there's other people we can still buy from other shops. And Walmart is in almost every big and medium-sized city. Right? I mean, they're obviously in all big cities. Medium-sized cities, probably 50,000 or less. You have a Walmart, the population. Right. So these guys, I think, are in the smaller towns, communities. The Krogers and the Albertsons are in the smaller towns.
Right. And they even have different target markets. Walmart goes for the low price, value, the best value, which is great. They do a great job with it. But Albertsons and Kroger go for more of the specialized foods in a way.
Prepared meals.
Yeah, prepared meals. Yeah, maybe
better shopping experience.
Customer base. So
wider aisles.
Yes.
Nicer carts. No squeaky
more
wheels.
Service. Yeah. Wow, is there such a thing?
I don't know. There might be some non-squeaky wheel places out there. Yeah, I think it's when you carry the hand basket.
Yeah, that'd be it.
And then you don't have the squeaking wheels, right?
Yeah. So you mentioned deflation. I hope I'm not getting off track.
Take it, yeah.
But inflation is kind of the government's fault anyway. They kept printing
100%.
money, borrowing money, just print it. That's it. If they want to get food prices down.
So this is a great point. Rocco, my 5-year-old boy, he had a $1 in his pocket yesterday, and he wanted to take it to school with him to share with a friend of his. And I said, don't bring money to school. You don't have to share money with your friend. It's okay, right? And he came back home with the $1 in his pocket, but the $1 was ripped. And I was like, man. And I sat there. I'm like, let me find some tape. Let me see if I can't keep this thing in circulation. Otherwise, I'm going to throw this thing away, right? And I was thinking about, I was taping this $1 back together. And I had this realization, this $1 isn't worth anything. The thing's not even worth the paper that it's printed on, literally, right?
Right.
And that's what inflation is the fact that I might as well just throw this thing away, because it's really worth what? What's it worth, 10 cents? With today's market, 20 cents? What's it really worth? And so that's the government's fault. That's not business's fault.
That's right.
No monopoly caused that. The government caused that.
That's
with
exactly
printing
right.
money, the Fed prints money,
All
and then
these
they lend
programs that even the college bailout that we're spending billions on.
That's not businesses doing that,
No,
right?
that's
We talk about there's 3 types of control. You've got government control, you've got company controlled, and then you have customer controlled, right? We all want to live in a market where the customers, we the people, we control things. And how do we control it? Well, we control it the way we purchase.
With our pocketbook.
With our pocketbook, right? With our wallet, with our cards. I mean, we control all of that, right? So the government wants ultimate control, which is why there's this war that's going on, right? I mean, it's a war.
Yeah, absolutely.
Battle of the wills.
There's a company that has values that I don't support. I just don't go there. It's not a big deal. They have a right to support whatever they want to do. I'm all for that.
That's the amazing thing about America, right?
But I don't have to support them. And so
I agree with you. Look, I think you mentioned Target earlier. Great example. I look at Target, and I know there's a lot of people who love Target. They love Target. But as soon as they went woke, I said, I don't want to spend $1 there. I just don't want to. And he said, well, how did they go woke? As soon as you allow men to go into a woman's restroom where there's young children in there, my daughters are in there, your daughters are in there, and it's okay. Their policies, let it be, blase blah, let it be what will be. It's completely inappropriate because it affects the family. And the families then have a voice to say, I got no interest in that.
Yeah.
Again, it keeps it with the customers in control.
And the go woke, go broke is so true. I mean, we can see their stock prices decline. And oh, wow, what a surprise.
Look at Disney.
Yeah, exactly.
Disney pushed a massive agenda, and it was labeled woke, which it is. And the customers are like, forget it. We don't want your product. Right?
Exactly.
And so, and I think I just heard something that Elon Musk's trying to pick up. Did he already do it, or he's
working on Disney?
He's working on picking up Disney on the cheap.
Yeah, that's right.
On the cheap.
Get a deal. He knows where to find deals. Yeah.
Yeah. So I think kind of looking back at it does it make sense? What was another big merger that took place recently? That was the cell phones.
The AT&T.
We had Sprint and T-Mobile.
And T-Mobile, yes.
Now that went through. I was with Sprint.
Same.
My companies, all the company lines were with Sprint, and then they pushed us to T-Mobile. How was that for you? Because you went T-Mobile.
Yeah. There's a few hiccups. There was with passwords and things and billing and
I
such.
agree.
But
yes,
that's expected.
The merger sucked, by the way. The experience was horrible. Us customers I hated it. But which means I don't want to go through another change, though.
Exactly. But I could have left and I could have gone with someone else.
Because there's other options.
There's other options.
So if Kroger and Albertsons merge and they become Krogorsons, are there no more options then at that point if the prices go up?
Well, here in South Texas, there's plenty of options.
There is.
We have H-E-B. We have, like you said, Target, Walmart, both carry
food.
Food.
They have groceries.
Yeah, absolutely.
So there's always options. And again, I think, should people be against, I know there's a lot of people that villainized corporate owners. They villainize them. And they say that, well, look at what they did. They stole all the people's pension money, right? 10, 12 years ago. But, again, think about how many companies there are in America, large companies, like large scale, mid-sized, right? And how many of those are out defrauding the general public? How many of those are out there defrauding their customers? What?
Yeah,
not even a percent?
Yeah,
less,
very few.
Very, very few. And they're caught and they're prosecuted and they spend the rest of the time in jail. Right.
And it usually backfires. Like if the big corporate head comes in and he's trying to increase his stock price or the value and lays off a whole bunch of people, the stock price is going to go up for a bit, but then they've got no people.
Correct.
And so it's going to come back down.
They're trying to manipulate their stock.
Right. And that is bad. I don't agree with that at all.
Well, because that affects
small business people.
That affects stockholders, shareholders. That affects your mutual funds, all
it's
where
a
your
good
money's
short-term
at.
fix for sure. But long term, it won't work.
So I think that the mentality is the government wants to be the savior. They want to come in and prevent all things that they think would be bad for them. They really are operating as a separate entity, not we the people for the people. And I think for the most part, us Americans, we recognize that, is that the government's really taken a hard shift and they're rogue, they're doing their own thing, which is why we have our amendments.
That's right.
For times like this.
That's right.
The tyranny of a government that comes in and wants to take over and take control over, right? So in the first place they do that is in the marketplace. First thing they do is then they start owning all of the companies. They become the supplier. They become the producer. And what does that look like in other nations?
Do you remember the bailouts, like the auto manufacturer bailouts? Like, was it Ford that refused to take any money from the government?
I'm not sure if it was Ford.
I think they bailed Chevy out. I may be wrong.
Hey, maybe we can get one of our people to help us look that up. But I believe Ford is part of the government now.
Okay. Yeah, I may have had it backwards.
Yeah. So that's a big deal. The last thing we want, in my opinion, monopolies are bad. The word monopoly is bad. And the game is fantastic, by the way. I love the game, but
you probably always win.
If the game goes too long and my ADD spans out, I cannot stay focused that long. So I go in as quick, as hard, as fast as I can, and then I'm like, I'm out. Cash me out. But the point though is that, in my opinion, if you've got mergers happening, as long as we have the ability to start companies and start businesses, let as many companies merge as they want to merge, as long as it's a free market and it doesn't prevent new companies from coming into the market. If new companies are now, let's say some countries you have licenses. There's only a certain number of licenses that will be awarded to whomever the government deems can get the license to sell or trade. And so that's one thing that I think would then become a problem, right?
Right.
But that's not the case now, is it?
Not at all. Not at all. We could go out today and start a business. I would know nothing about it.
In 2008, Bush lended money to Chrysler and to General Motors, and then in 2018, Trump threatened to cut off federal subsidies to GM in retaliation to planned cutbacks in the Midwest. So he was disappointed that they would shut 5 plants and slash 14,000 jobs. So GM said that we appreciate the actions this administration has taken on behalf of the industry, the overall competitiveness of U.S. manufacturing.
Nice. That was Michaela. For all of you who are wondering who that distant voice was, that was Michaela reading the news of. So it was during Bush's era. Those buyout.
So it was Ford that refused.
It must have been because General Motors, is that Ford or
GM?
Yeah, it's Chevrolet.
General Motors and Chrysler took the payout. They became federally subsidized.
Yeah, and they still are today.
Right.
They still are today.
Trump would have called them out and said, you're slashing jobs.
Right. And most of those vehicles are not made here. Most of they're made overseas. Probably in China.
Right.
So our Ford trucks are being built and our Ford vehicles are being built, or GMC vehicles are being built overseas. So I think that's part of an issue too, right? Is why should our American-made vehicles be built in another country?
Right.
It's a whole nother topic. but it's so relative.
All right, let me put you on the spot. What do you think about the Federal Reserve that controls interest rates and controls the money supply?
I think the Federal Reserve is a scam. I think it's a scam. I think the IRS is a scam. We have to abide by their rules, but I think it's a scam. It's a foreign entity. It is not even an American, U.S.-based entity. The IRS is not a U.S. entity. It's not. So we have a foreign agency controlling our taxation on behalf of the Federal Reserve.
Right.
That's a major problem.
It's scary.
That's a scary major problem, right? So we think like that money is our money. It's American money. It's not. We're renting the money. We're leasing the money, right? Which always goes back down to fixed assets, and never give up your right for ownership. Never give up your right for ownership, right?
Property,
right? But even property tax is ridiculous. It's again because you could have a paid off property. We could have 10 paid off properties, but the day you missed your tax payment, they could take it.
That's right.
So really, we don't own our property either. The government owns it, or they own the
inheritance
right.
tax. A farmer that's worked all his life for generations to build up a farm and a good business passes away, then his kids can't afford to pay the inheritance tax.
Correct. Right. In this,
lose it.
so there's just a number of things that. So I think personally that I think Kroger and Albertsons do it, fight it, make it happen, because all it does is it allows, sure, for these guys, the customers will choose if they want to do business with them or not.
Right.
That's the free market. We're still in the free market.
Is good. It's a good thing. It makes us all better.
It is a
makes
good
us
thing.
Compete on price for customers. The customer is the winner in competition.
Yeah. So it kind of gets into something else when other groups come together and they do price fixing. Right. So that's a portion, I think, where that's very real, and it doesn't even need to be with a monopoly. It's when all the groups come together and say, hey, there was a movie years ago called The Informant, and I think it was Matt Damon. And it's a great, I don't know, I can't really fully endorse it because I don't remember if it's fully appropriate. But the principle was this: it was price fixing on corn across the global market. All the companies would come together, private meetings, and they would say, hey, this is what we should charge for corn across all scales. And so I think that's more important to focus on than the concept of monopolies today, because our environment today is so different than it was 100 years ago, even 70 years ago. Right? It's just so different. And with the internet, online businesses and everything else, anybody can be in business today and compete with one of these big boys, even if the big boy has got a cheaper price. Because you said it earlier, not everybody wants something that's just cheap and made in China. And I don't mean the really high-end China-made stuff, because China's got some different levels of what they sell, right? The things that they sell us are trash, and we buy them at a trash price. We buy them at a dirt cheap price, and we expect them only to last how long? Not long.
Yeah, very short lifespan.
Very short lifespan, right? But even China has high-end quality things that they make for the Chinese people in their nation. They have different qualities, right? So I think that's one of the things is that people can choose what to buy when we have an online stores, right? So the idea of really monopolies are, it's not old hat, but it's not as relative today.
Right. There's very few industries that can be monopolized.
Right. Well, even United and Continental, that was 10 years ago when they went together. United and Continental, I know the government stood in front of that one, tried to block that. That was the largest airline merger of its day, and it's doing good. And prices haven't gone crazy with airlines. I mean, after COVID, everything kind of went crazy with airlines and fees and everything. But still, there's enough new people that join the market. Spirit is one. JetBlue, these guys keep low, cheap prices. Southwest, right? So the idea of the government trying to save the day here, I think, is a little, and it's this administration, this current administration trying to save the day.
Right. Do you want to get into consumer wants and needs and what we actually need, what the needs are? Do you think there's a lot more wants than there are needs?
That's a great point. I think when we look at the needs versus wants, we all have needs, right? And my daily bread is my need. It wasn't, hey, give me a month's supply my year's supply of my food.
Right.
So we have wants, we have needs, right?
Right.
And so
things we think we need are really just wants.
They're just wants. Well, there's the basics, and then there's the extras.
Right.
Right.
Because there's this thing about apps and how their control on kids, and rightfully so, but I don't have a problem with it because I don't have those social media apps. It's not a big deal. We still have personal accountability in what we watch.
That's a great point. So we are not we're not robots. We're not all at the same place in life. We're not all slaves to entertainment. We're not all ensnared by the traps that the media companies want us to buy in and be hooked on every notification that dings and pops and right. I think you've got secular society, right? And then you have kingdom-minded families, right? Who live in they live in our communities. I believe we're some of them here. We represent some of them here. We're very aware of what the world's trying to sell us, right? It's like consumerism. It's like that's why I don't like the word consumerism, right? Is they look at us as just as people who consume, but we're producers. People should look at themselves as creators and producers. We create, just like our Heavenly Father. He's a creator. He's not a consumer, right?
Right.
So we're modeled into this thinking that we just need to constantly buy whatever whatever they put out. Let's just buy it.
He who dies with the most toys wins. That's the concept.
And it's nonsense, right?
Yeah, it is.
So no, I think that like anything, if you
not
really,
to go against hard work, and
that's not the point.
It's just the mindset.
Yeah, but it's not the point. I think to the point that you've made, I've said this to a lot of other very successful business guys. Just because we can, doesn't mean we should. Just because we have as much money as we've always wanted in our bank accounts, does it mean that we need to go out and go buy the next thing just because we can? Right? Temperance is a big part of being a leader.
Right. And giving. My cup overfloweth. That's when we can give to others and help others and support ministries.
That's exactly right. Yeah, it just flows. Right? It flows. And I think that's a big part of a tempered man, a tempered woman is knowing that, yeah, I can have that, but I don't need it. Right? But this person has lack, and I can share with them out of my abundance. And when you do that, it actually allows more to flow to you, right? And if we really believe that God does want to bless us and does want to work through us to touch other people's lives, and as we give to the least of these, as we help people in need, the Bible says, a man who lends to the poor lends to the Lord,
That's right.
And the Lord will repay him, right? So it's kind of like, hey, I lent it. I'm on behalf of the Lord. This is a kind deed. And God's like, oh, perfect. Good job, James. Good job, David. Here's some more. And you're like, oh, I got more in my account. This is great. Another business deal, another client. We raised our prices, and the clients were like, yeah, we're happy to pay those prices increases. You know, it's like whatever scenario it is, right? So now there's more to flow.
Right, absolutely. Going back to Albertsons' situation, from what I read, society consumers tend to support the FTC, like saying that they should not merge. So does that show what our society is like or where it's heading, or some of the views on that?
That's a great question. I think that as society is swayed by mass media, as a whole, society is still swayed by mass media. And I think that you've got 50% of our society is still kind of in that hard leaning, whatever the media says, I believe what I read. And they don't ask themselves, and I think this is a key question for all of us listeners, everybody that's here and listening, is question their source. Where's their source? What are they quoting? Where are they getting this data from? And is it a trustworthy source? And is it something that we can compare it amongst different sources? Is there only one source, or is there a few different sources? Right?
Absolutely.
So I think that the Federal Trade Commission is a good buffer to make sure that people don't go AWOL. Right? But the market is so diverse. The market has so much going on. It's hard to really go AWOL unless they all come together and price fix, which I think should be criminalized. Right? Because then that takes away free market.
Right. And I think of like the examples like during a storm, if there's a hurricane that hits, and then people come in and just are ripping the people off for ice,
It's a great point. Yeah, it's a great point. So
there's price fixing there.
Okay, so down here in Corpus Christi, we had Hurricane Harvey in 2017. I'm a builder, rebuilder, contractor, and so it's a combination of things. There is an explanation, but it's not always a great explanation, right? Plywood, price of plywood, storms coming in. There's a storm in the Gulf. Cover up your windows and your doors, right? And so what do people do? They run out and buy as much plywood and screws and fasteners as they can, right? Well, plywood was sitting on the shelf back then at in 2017, I think at like $9.78 for a half-inch sheet of OSB, and it jumped to 14, and then it jumped to 18, and then jumped to 21, and then after the storm settles, it all comes back down. And so I know that they tell you is that they're anticipating there being a problem with the plants. They're anticipating their problem with the trucking. They're anticipating delivering. They're anticipating all of these issues that happen, right? But I also think they're just trying to corner the market because now it's a demand issue and they raise the prices.
Right. And as a consumer, I kind of expect that.
I expect
I don't want to be
well.
gouged, but I'm expecting to pay a little bit more for that because of that situation.
Right.
Increased demand.
Yeah, so it's supply and demand. It's part of the benefit of being a business owner is that we read the market. We know what's happening. We're aware of the news. We see things that are going on. And we all should be watchers.
And it's also my fault because I wasn't prepared. You
could have already had it.
Right, exactly.
Dude, you could have been a planner.
Yeah.
Right? And I think that's kind of the point is that we need to be less reactive. We need to be more proactive in our lives. And when we become proactive, we create margin in our life, right?
Right.
And that's how I run my companies and I train our staff and our upper management and even down to the guys in the field. Plan for that mistake, plan for that thing to happen next. That way, when it does happen, you already have the solution. You've already mapped it out.
That's right. James, you touched on something earlier about the big corporations versus like the mom and pops like you and me. Like I'm thinking of a situation now when I have an employee that he needs a back surgery. He could not work. If he has a little injury, he could be paralyzed.
Yeah.
A big company may just say, I'm sorry, you're gone.
Yes.
But we are coming together. We're keeping him paid. We're giving him work to do at home where he's still helping. We still want him to work. He's got to work.
Yeah.
But we can accommodate things like that where the big companies may not do that, the real big ones.
It's true. I think like anything, people run a company, right? It's people. Like we're people, and we represent the lives. We represent the services that we provide, right? But we also represent the lives, the families that work for us and depend on us for consistent work, right? Good wages, good benefits, good hours, right? Dependability, consistency, right? They stay with us because they receive that. And if they don't like the level that they wanted, they might leave, right? And go to another company, right? They're free to do that.
Yeah, if they get a better offer, go have at it.
Come on,
absolutely.
yeah.
We want what's best for you and your family.
Yeah, because you'll keep growing, right? So I think part of it is, when we look and see what that companies become, the owners or the boards only look at numbers because they have, shareholders and stockholders and so forth. They become less and less worried or concerned with the people that actually make the engine go.
That's right.
They become less concerned.
Exactly right.
And we have an option if we want to do business with them. We have an option if we want to put our money in their stocks. We have an option if we want to put our 401k linked to these large corporates that you love the returns they give you, but you wouldn't really want to work for them. We all have a choice, right? Like, well, I make a ton of money on my market every year, my 401k, because I'm with these companies. Well, what do those companies represent? What do they stand for? What do they sow their money into, right? A lot of these big companies, these like S&Ps and a lot of these big companies, they support stuff that Christians, if they knew what they supported, they would run like hell. They would run away, right?
Right.
And because people don't really want to know, they live in ignorance because they want to see their bank accounts grow. So I think people have a level of greed.
Yeah,
at the customer level, there's a level of greed. David, I want your service for the least amount of possible. It's not because I think your service is bad or because I think that, you do. It's because I just want the deal. Right?
Right.
That's why some people shop at Walmart.
Right.
Because it's cheap.
Right.
Slashing prices.
Yeah.
And they don't want to go to a label store. They just don't want to.
That's great.
But it's their choice.
It's their choice, absolutely.
It's their choices of it. So I think that's the difference is that we've got people that can choose. But I think at the basic level here, customers are greedy. They have a level of greed in them, right? It doesn't mean that they all will always get what they want, right? I have people that I do work for. They would love for me to cut my price in half and that they would still get the huge value that we bring by giving them a brand new kitchen or building them a full-blown house, beautiful house. It'd be great to have it cut in half. But it doesn't mean it happens. So that's where the value comes in, time, value, money, quality, the value of the quality. You pay for the value of the quality, or are you just paying for something that's cheap that'll last a week, a year, a month, whatever.
Right. Yeah.
So we're in control. The consumers are still in control. The customers are still in control of everything. They're not a victim of the society. They're not a victim of happenstance.
Yeah.
They can make decisions.
So when the FTC steps in and says we don't want this to happen because of the customers,
I think that they're really
not even founded.
I think that they're representing their own interests. Right? Why do some deals go through and some deals get blocked? Who's getting paid on the back end of some of these deals? I saw this thing with U.S. senators, and there's and both sides. U.S. senators, where they go in, their net worth might be worth $1 million. They get elected into office. And after 10, 12 years, their net worth now is worth 50, 60, 70 million. And why is that? How is that, David? How is that? Isn't that kind of wild?
I saw a similar thing where Trump was the only one whose net worth decreased while he was in office.
Trump he lost revenue. He lost net worth as president.
He didn't even take a salary.
He's one of the only presidents in modern history that has ever had that happen. Ever had that happen, right? That's a very key indicator right there of what's going on from the government entity. You have these Congress people that play the markets. They know what's going to happen.
Oh yeah,
they know
inside information.
They have inside information. They know when legislators are about to get a bill passed. The lobbyists, they know it's working. They see it coming down through the House, through Congress, through the House. They see the executive's going to sign it, and they line their money up and they put their money into those stocks. Water meters is a perfect example. There's a new code that came out that said all new water meters need to be done so they're digitalized. Instead of being analog, they need to be uploaded like digitally. They can read them. Well, every new water meter had to be replaced, or all these new meters had to be replaced throughout all cities and counties and towns, states. Well, there's only 3 water meter creators in the country.
Wow.
They all did extremely well. And if I knew that ahead of time, I would have put some money into their stock as well. Well, that's what these Congress people do. It's just a fact. And you can look it up. Go look it up.
Yeah.
So that's the great thing about the...
thinking of a name, I won't say it, but...
It's okay. It's okay. And this is my point, right? So I think everybody needs to see that nothing is done in the dark. What you think you do in the dark will be revealed by the light, and it only takes time, right? And if people want to be in this the long game for a long haul and they want to have a clean conscience, right? And my goal is to bring on a lot of politicians. I want to talk politics with guys.
Yeah.
Especially people who just want to get in now. And why do they want to get in? What's their motive? They really want to serve the people? Really want to serve themselves? What's the motive?
Yeah.
That's a fair question.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
It's a fair question.
Right. You touched on something before we started recording about my personal business that fortunately or not, whatever, we're the only one in town. We're like, it's perceived by some as having a local monopoly.
That's true.
So
that's true. But do you keep others out?
I try to.
Do you intentionally keep other people out?
I do. I try to.
Yeah.
It's competition. But I'm talking about the big national companies that have all kinds of money that want to come in. But the only way I do it, I go to lunch with them and we just talk. We just talk about the industry. We become good friends.
Yes.
But at the same time, I've got relationships. That's what it comes down to. I've done this 40 years. This is my 40th year. Started in high school. So I've just grown up with all these people, and I know their families, and I know them. I know their pets. I know what they drive. Because they're friends.
Because local business, and you serve at a local level, right? You're not in Tri-City. You're not in Tri-State. You're here in one town,
right?
And your service, you've really set up a great model, right? But it's local because it's driven by relationships,
right? And we've lost contracts before when national companies come in and said, oh, that's fine. It's business. I totally understand. Totally understand. But a few years later down the road, when they can't get a hold of their corporate office, nobody calls them back. They don't seem to care about what's going on locally. They call me back. Hey, would you come back? Of course I will. Yeah. We're still friends.
Well, I think that's part of it. And some people get then concerned and say, well, what's the transition like? Well, David's not going to be able to do this forever. So at what point, when is it going to go? When is it going to exchange hands? It's going to stay local? It's going to go national? What's going to happen? And that's a real question for anybody that's going to transition.
And I want to scale. Right? I'd love to be that big, but little at a time, just as it happens.
Right.
Grow organically.
Well, do you gouge people? with your prices?
I don't think so, because they have a choice to use us or not use us. And if I was gouging, that would open up the doors for a competitor to come in at a lower price. And so it's got
so you're aware that
I'm not going to
there's
say
that the
we
vultures
undercut.
are.
We'll charge what the market allows for sure.
So you're aware. So you're very aware that there's competitors out there that are just waiting for you to jack your prices up. People complain, they get upset, they start calling the competitors to see if they can service locally.
Exactly.
Because there's no law that says that you are the only one that can have a valet service here in town, right?
Of course.
Yeah. There is or there isn't?
There is not.
There's no law. Right. Now, if you were a shady guy, you would try to work that out with the government, the local government, maybe work something in there if you had those type of intentions, right? Because that's what other people do try to do. And so I think that's where we want fair balances. The scales should be fair.
Yeah.
They should be fair across the board.
Absolutely.
The biggest thing you said was it's based on your price. It's based on the quality, the relationship, and the price. Mm-hmm. So if people enjoy your service and they feel as though the price is warranted for your service, then they'll pay it. It's just that simple. It's like the simplistic approach of business.
Absolutely.
Right?
Right. That's so true. And I've always undercut. I always come in low on price. My office is the one that's like saying, "Hey, look, we can charge this much," and we do, and it's fine, and people don't complain. So I'm stuck 40 years ago what we used to charge. And
well, that's to your point. That's a great point. I still remember the day.
Most entrepreneurs are that way, I think.
And that is true. I still remember the day that I met with. This is why I think it's really great advice to meet with and talk with other people that are in your industry in a different market.
Absolutely.
Form a relationship. You literally could pick up the phone today and call another valet in, let's say,
San Antonio. He's in my phone. We talk all the time.
You could talk to somebody that's in a different city, a different state, and say, "Hey, I do what you do. I'm a business owner. I do what you do in my town. Can I get 5 minutes? Can I get 10 minutes? Can I get 20 minutes just to talk with you for a few minutes? I have nobody else to talk to about this. I'd love to talk to you." I have found that most of these guys open right up. Mm-hmm. They're like, "Oh, you're not in my town? Great, you're not even in my state. Okay, yeah, dude, let's talk." And you come to find out they have all the same challenges that you have and or have already kind of crossed that bridge, and they can look back and say, "I would have done it this way. I did it like this, but I would have done it like that." Right?
Absolutely.
So that's free, guys, because that's camaraderie. Mm-hmm. That's people that you can quickly identify with. Right. So I think that's really, really important for you. I had someone say, we made a post about, if you think your product sucks, get someone in there to evaluate it for you. Get an expert in there, evaluate it. And they said, well, where do I find the expert? Call someone who's already doing it.
Yeah.
Call someone who's already doing it.
Talking about pricing, it's so funny because I've had people say, "Did you see David's bill? He's not charging enough." People tell me, I'm not, customers tell me, "You're not charging enough." Like, oh, wow.
That's good. Well, that's good.
It's funny when a customer says that.
Isn't it? But that means they value what you do.
Right.
And they're putting a higher value than you are.
And conversely, I had the mayor call me just a few months ago. Love her to death. She's great. And we did a charity event, and she said, "Hey, is there any way you could knock this off?" I'm like, how am I going to say no to the mayor?
Sure.
Yeah, she called me on my cell phone. I'm like, of course. So I cut it in half. She's all, "Thank you so much." And,
but
just that relationship.
Yeah, but you also know that's a marketing thing.
Right. Absolutely.
Because certain people put you in front of other people that would want to buy your service. Mm-hmm. So that's
exactly.
I mean, come on.
And she protects us. She's written letters.
What do you mean she protects? Wait a minute, what kind of political favor do you have, David? Let's get into this.
I'm not going this direction. I might get in big trouble.
No, but talk about
because she has known us for so many years, and we have some big accounts in town where there was a competitor trying to come in to take away the local business. Not only ours, but other vendors as well that were local. She protects the local business.
That's good.
And so she wrote a letter to that big corporation, say, "Hey, leave these guys alone.
That's good.
I know them. They're going to take care of you."
That's good.
So she had our back.
That is such a big thing about being. Why?
I didn't even know it. I didn't ask her to do that. She just did it.
That's huge because you want your local government to protect your local businesses. You want that. Mm-hmm. You want that. You do. You want that.
She knows we're a local employer. We're from here. We spend our money here.
Correct. Yeah, because your money stays local.
Right.
That's a great point as well. When we look at when we support certain...
Sorry, we're way off track.
No, but it's full circle. When you spend your money with certain groups of certain companies, your money stays local, right? So as an example, our company, let's say just Pure Tree Remodeling, the remodeling group. We
did business with you.
Yes, you have. Yes, thank you, David. How was it? Was it okay?
It's great. Yeah.
Wait, did I pay you to say that?
No, not at all. No.
See, I didn't pay him to say that.
You even had somebody called for a reference on you the other day, and I gave him.
Thank you.
All smiley faces.
All smiley faces.
I'm sorry. Continue with.
Thank you, David. All right, you're digressing. So
caffeine. I'm sorry.
You're all hyped up on the James special. I love it. So if you've got local relationships, you got local families, and your money transacts with the local people, right? So I'm selling a local product, a service to the local community. You live here, you pay me, you make your money from your local market. I receive that money, I pay all the vendors, I pay our staff, we get our profit, and then I buy things locally. So we're literally supporting the local economy, right? When you do business with a company, let's say out of Austin or Houston or San Antonio or Florida or somewhere else, but you live in this market here, your money doesn't stay here. It literally is a vacuum. It's sucked out and it circulates their local economy.
That's right.
Right? So it's important to do business locally, and COVID proved that. The shutdowns proved that. If you don't do business with the local restaurants and the local families that run those restaurants, you only go to the chains, guess what? Those restaurants go away. Mm-hmm. They're just not there anymore.
Can I give Spawn Hospital a shout out?
Come on.
During COVID, everything canceled. We had nothing. But they kept us going. Even though we had little business, they kept our guys there just because he said, I like you guys. You guys hustle. Y'all run. I don't want to lose you.
That's good. That's a big deal.
That kept our doors open, literally.
Yeah, that was 4 years ago.
Yeah.
Coming up on 4 years ago, 3.5, 4 years ago. Wow. Yeah, I mean, that's kind of the thing too. I think the value in the relationships, right? So people are loyal to relationships that have been respected, right? And so that's why I've still had people that I've known for 12 years. Some of my first customers when I moved to Corpus Christi, I'm still friends with today. Mm-hmm. And they took a chance on me. I was new to town. They said, all right, look, we're going to do business with you and do a great job. And I did do a great job for them. But we stayed connected. And we're still friends today. And they see what we've grown to and they see where we're standing today. And they're like, and they became like our cheerleaders, right? They became our cheerleaders. We've done business with each other multiple times. I am now at a point where I can do business with several of them as well. It's just...
Yeah. You know what's weird? Like, price really doesn't matter to me at that point. That sounds weird. It does, of course, matter. Price matters, but I don't mind even paying a few extra dollars for something. If it's somebody I know, it's going to help them keep their business going.
It's long-term. It's vision.
It's value to me.
I think once we get out of that mentality of being, again, that's why I don't like the word consumer. Whenever I hear consumer, I kind of cringe. Even though I'll use the word occasionally, it'll kind of slip out. I really prefer the word customer because a customer dictates.
I'm the same with client. I don't really like client.
That's good.
It's impersonal.
So it's impersonal because when you're a customer, it's relational. Mm-hmm. A consumer is just impulse. You're like impulse buying. And so you don't want impulse buyers. You want customers. You want people that will be with you for the long haul if you plan to be in business for a long time. If you're just for the quick buck, you want consumers, that's all you want because you're quick buck, you're going to be in and out of business fast and you're going to move on to something else. Right? Like I'm just going to use it as a stepping stone. I don't care about the people. There's a lot of people that are motivated by money.
Right.
They're not motivated. They're not motivated by relationships.
So true.
But if you're
the money follows. I'm so big on harping that.
It's
you
true.
Just love what you do it well, show up on time, be dependable, take care of people. The money's going to follow. Don't worry about the money.
It does. It does follow. It's true. Hey, so
we're just getting started.
I know. Are you for monopolies or are you against monopolies?
I'm against them.
You're against monopolies. Do you think, in your opinion,
free trade? Do
you think what's happened with Kroger and Albertsons? Do you think that's a monopoly move, or do you think that's just a big merger that's going to?
It's just a merger. Yes.
You don't think it's going to create a monopoly?
No, not at all.
It's $25 billion deal. Do you think the government got excited when they heard $25 billion?
Yeah, I think so. There's some other agenda there. I think
they're after some of that money. Mm-hmm. I think they're after something. Right? Walmart's got the control. Walmart holds 50% of that market, or 25%, which is basically 50%. I mean, that's huge. So I don't think this is really an issue for Krogorsons. Hey, look, if you do name it Krogorsons,
royalties.
I want the royalties, guys. We're going to send this off to them and see if they won't ping us. Maybe we'll get an interview. That'd be cool. Michaela, maybe you can set up an interview with Kroger. Hey, David, thanks for being with us.
Oh, man, it's so fun.
We're going to have you back.
Fired up.
We're going to have you back. We've got some more panels coming up. One of our next episodes, we're actually going to be interviewing, I think we've got 6 different realtors and brokers. We're gonna put them in the hot seat, round table it, and we're gonna ping them hard on why they should make as much money as they do. Do they think it's fair? What do they think about the lawsuit? There was a giant national lawsuit trying to take away commissions from realtors. So we're gonna try to get into that side of the business as well, because I know a lot of entrepreneurs are realtors or work with real estate investors, right? So thanks for being open to jump in the seat today. We'll have you back again. And
thanks for letting me give my opinion. It's great. I love it, man.
It's good.
Appreciate what you're doing.
Thank you. Appreciate that as well, David. Hey, guys, thanks for checking in today. If you like what you heard, like, subscribe, ring the bell. Hey, we also have our merch shop. You can check that out down the link below. Thanks for being here. We love you guys. God bless you. We'll see you next time.